Hello and good morning for some, good afternoon for others, and good evening for the rest of you. This is Phantom, and we are back with Chapter 9 of For the Ones We Love, written by Flim Flam Brothers on FIM Fiction. And as always, if you want to check out the story or check out Brad's channel, who has helped me in this reading, and I feel like at this point you don't need to hear me state that. If you're on Chapter 9, you've heard this intro before. So, links will be in the description, as always. Go check them out. Or go read the story. Go check out Brad's channel. And let's get into it. This is Chapter 9, The Insanity. Ah, the fun of being insane. It's hard to really appreciate such things when you're still sane. Sanity is boring, after all. It's just too predictable for my taste. A quote from Path of Cloud.
Oh, you poor, poor pony,
Wept Chrysalis as she kissed her cult friend on the cheek.
She sounds like such a dreadful little pony.
She was,
moaned Conquest in an overdramatic fashion, as if this was a performance.
The way she rejected me, the way she used me. Oh, it was horrible.
He fainted in the Queen's hooves.
I feel faint, my love.
Spike couldn't think of anything to say. For the first time, Conquest had actually made sense. What Symphony had done to him was terrible and uncalled for. He would hate it if Rarity were to do something like that, and he knew he would never do anything like that. What happened next? It felt weird to encourage the pony that had talked nonsense to continue talking. Conquest lifted an eyebrow.
Interested, are we? Well, my story is almost done, but I assure you, it has a killer ending.
5 Astraces and Scene Break. Curator ran through the forest of the Everfree, a trail of tears falling from his eyes. How could she do this to him? He loved her! He loved her with all his heart, and she just chewed it up and spat it on the ground. The alicorn jumped in the air and flew onto a nearby tree branch. He sat there as he let his pity pour out of his body. All that he had ever done for her, all that she had ever done for him. Was it all in vain? Was it for nothing?
It's not fair.
His voice echoed in the darkness, falling on the deaf ears of the forest.
I did everything for her. I loved her. I was going to marry her.
He let more tears roll down his face. It was getting harder to breathe from his sniffling. How he wished he could just turn it all off, to never feel again.
Never feel again.
A voice echoed in his head.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Curator stopped crying. Was Symphony talking in his head?
Hello?
The shadowy voice chuckled in his mind.
So you can hear me at last, eh, pony?
The voice repeated.
Hear what?
He looked around for whoever was talking.
Who is this? Show yourself.
Very well.
Said the voice inside of him.
But first, can you open your mouth?
What?
No sooner did he ask, he felt his mouth forced open. He tried to close his mouth, but some unknown force was keeping it open. A slow trickle of black smoke was emitted from his mouth. He watched in terror as the smoke started to take on a form, the head of a stallion that looked exactly like him.
Ah!
Sighed the shadow as he cracked his neck side to side.
You know, it is very cramped in that head of yours.
Who are you?
Curator regained control of his mouth.
Silly little filly. Don't you recognize me? I'm you.
What?
I'm you. A different part of you, and I'm here to help you.
Help me. How?
You're weak, but I can change that. I can make you stronger, make you powerful. I can help you turn it all off, just like you want. And I am here to give you the greatest of all gifts.
What's that?
Ignorance, my pony. Sweet, blissful ignorance.
How will that help me?
Try to imagine, never feeling bad about anything you did, to just laugh it off or simply not care. All the pain that the mare caused you to simply vanish in thin air. Now doesn't that sound nice?
Curator thought of what this dark double had to say. To never care again, to never know pain or heartbreak. It seemed like a good deal right now.
What do you want for this gift?
Nothing really. Just accept me, embrace the idea of complete and total insanity, and I'll make everything go away.
He sat there in the darkness of the forest, considering the very tempting offer of the pony. He was angry, sad, depressed, and confused, and he wanted to never feel this again. He paused, unsure of what he was actually getting himself into.
I accept the insanity.
The sides of the shadow's face perked up upon hearing those words. Slowly, he began to drift around the white alicorn, spinning faster and faster. Curator was thinking this was a bad idea, but then he felt something. He felt nothing. All of the negative emotions he was harboring before had vanished. He felt calm as he hopped off the tree. There was a new sense of life in his body, and a new thought in his mind. He gave a quirky smile as he quickly ran back towards town. And 5 asterisks with a scene break. He could feel his heart lift as he entered town, seeing a green pony walking into an alley. He guessed that he had gotten kicked out. He was going to go straight to Symphony's, but he could make a little detour. He followed 3-tack into the alleyway, the shadows of the alley hiding everything from any watching pony that would pass by.
Hey.
The stallion turned around in shock. Oh, crap. Look, she is with me now, okay? She thought you were dead, and she moved on. That's what any pony would have done.
Oh, yes.
He advanced slowly towards the stallion.
She did make a mistake, thinking that I was dead.
He started to smile, flashing his pearly whites at the green pony.
But she won't make that mistake with you.
What do you mean? The scared pony was backed up against a wall. He turned around to see that he was trapped, and that the only exit was blocked by a now sinister-looking curator.
Simple.
He lunged towards the pony, grabbed him by the neck with his hooves, and pressed his back against the wall.
She'll know that you're dead.
He started to levitate his sword out of his holster, the silver blade shining in the moonlight as 3-tack tried to wiggle free from the alicorn's grasp, but to no avail.
I'm in a great mood right now, so I'll give you a choice. Do you want your death to be quick and painless, or slow and horrible?
Curator put his ear up to the suffocating pony, hearing nothing but gagging and gargling.
Slow and horrible, you say? Good choice.
With one last sigh, he plunged the blade deep into the pony's stomach. 3-tack groaned with terrible pain, unable to scream as the blade was pulled out of his stomach, only to be stabbed back in. Blood splattered across Curator's white body, the splatter of blood resembling his fiery mane.
Does it hurt, Tack?
He looked into the pony's lifeless eyes, continuing to stab him.
Do you know the pain you caused me? The giant crap you took on my life?
He pulled the bloody blade out of the dead pony, his body falling down into a puddle of his own crimson fluid.
Consider yourself lucky.
He walked away from the body and looked around. No pony had seen him, which was good. He didn't need that right now. He looked back at the body, to the pony he had just killed. There was a warm feeling inside of him. Was that happiness? He had killed an innocent pony and he felt happy? No. He killed the bastard who was sleeping with his mare, and he could feel good about that. As he continued towards Symphony's house, he noticed his reflection in a shallow puddle. His entire body was covered in blood. Almost none of his white coat could be seen. But what was really strange was that his eyes had turned from an autumn yellow to a hellish red. He saw his reflection smile back at him, even though he didn't smile.
It feels good, doesn't it?
The puddle asked.
It does, doesn't it?
It was true. He felt great, as if killing the innocent could bring back his.
Good.
The reflection said.
Now let's go. But first, let me get that blood off you.
5 asterisks!
That was the first time I ever killed an innocent pony, though you could hardly call him innocent.
Conquest laid on a shadowy cloud. Queen Chrysalis curled up in her hooves.
But it was exhilarating, to say the least.
He looked down at the dragon.
There's something about taking a pony's life, to stare into his teary eyes as you rob him of the greatest gift of all, the power you feel.
He smiled.
It's intoxicating.
You're crazy.
You know, You sound like a broken record sometimes. It's always, you're crazy, or what's wrong with you, or killing ponies is wrong, Conquest. You really need to vary your vocabulary.
Whatever.
Whatever. Anyhoof, where was I? Ah yes, Symphony.
5 asterisks. Curator walked up to the front door of Symphony's house. His coat had been clean of all traces of blood, and he was looking better than ever in his dark armor. A real dark knight he was becoming, and he loved it. He knocked on the door as he waited for it to be answered. He was shaking with giddy anticipation when the door slowly opened. Curator, please, I'm sorry for what happened, but can we at least wait until morning?
That's not why I'm here. I want to show you something, and it needs to be right now. Tonight. Can you at least give me this? Then you'll never be bothered by me again.
The sleeping mare sighed as she levitated a coat from the coat rack. Fine, Curator. What is it you want to show me? The white alicorn smiled as he turned around.
This way, my dear.
The two started to head out of town towards the Everfree Forest. Symphony stopped as they approached the edge of the woods. Wait, we're heading into the Everfree Forest? Isn't that dangerous?
Don't worry, darling. I'll protect you.
She gave a small smile as she walked up close to Curator, feeling the warmth of his body against hers. The two walked in the forest in silence, only the sounds of the gentle breeze blowing through the trees and sleeping animals with their sleeping dreams. Eventually, they passed the tree line and into an open meadow. Curator looked at the pink mare.
Do you know where this is?
He slowly opened his wings. Symphony looked around. She did remember this place. This is the place where we first met, isn't it?
That is correct.
Curator started to walk up to a tree.
This spot is so special to me. It's where we met, where we played, where we had our first kiss. It's where we made love for the first time.
I remember. Her face was turning red as tears formed at her eyes. We had lots of good times here. Her words started to drift off as she bowed her head in shame. I'm so sorry all this happened to you.
That's okay. You'd be surprised at how fast I can get over something.
He spun around on his hind legs and offered Symphony a hoof.
Care to dance?
She looked at the surprisingly happy pony and took his hoof in hers. Curator pulled her in and wrapped his hoof around her waist as they circled around in the moonlight in a slow dance.
It's such a beautiful night, isn't it?
He twirled her around. Are you sure you're not trying to win me back? She grinned as she wrapped her hooves around the alicorn's neck.
Not at all, my dear.
He spun her around faster and faster. The two were so light on their feet. A yellowish aura engulfing Symphony's back hooves as the two started to dance in the sky. Higher and higher they went, Curator gently flapping his wings to stay afloat.
I just wanted to dance with you one last time.
Who said that this has to be the last time? Three-Tack isn't a very good dancer.
I'm afraid that's out of the question.
Their dancing started to slow down until they were standing in the air in the shadow of the moon. And why's that? Her face slowly leaned in towards his.
Because I hear it's hard to dance with broken legs.
What? His horn stopped glowing. The magic that had kept Symphony from falling disappeared. She shrieked as she fell through the air, landing with a hard thud on the ground. Another loud shriek echoed through the forest. Curator smiled as he slowly lowered himself down from the air. He had made sure that they were at a height that would cripple her, but not kill her. He didn't want her dead. Yet.
Oopsie!
He stared at the fallen pony. Her front legs were all bent out of shape, sticking out in directions they shouldn't. Her face was bruised and cut, and one of her eyes was swelling up quickly. Tears were leaking out of her face as she cried in broken sniffles.
Looks like I blundered a bit in our dance.
What? Why? Why? Symphony struggled to lift her head.
Silly filly. I wouldn't be talking too loud if I were you. You might alert some unwelcome guest.
There was a rustle in the bushes, right on time. The deadly yellow eyes cut through the shadows of the forest as 3 barked-covered wolves growled and crawled out of the bushes.
Oh dear! A pack of timberwolves attacking a helpless pony. This all seems so familiar, like we've done this before.
He stared at Symphony. The insanity was clear in his deranged eyes, and he had a sick smile. Curator, Carter, please, don't do this. She begged weakly, but received no sympathy from the alicorn. Help me.
Now why would I do that? Why would I help some heartless bitch who left me for some green tool, whom I've already killed tonight, by the way?
What? The Timberwolves slowly made their way towards the downed prey.
Stabbed him 5 times, but you shouldn't be worrying about him. You should be worrying about them.
He took off into the air, only to land in a nearby tree to watch the show.
Who's going to save you this time?
The wolves crept forward. Symphony could see the hunger in their eyes, flashing their fangs and snarling at her. She tried to lift herself, but her broken legs couldn't support her, and she collapsed in a fit of pain. Symphony tried to crawl away from the wolves, backing up to a tree. She watched in horror as the 3 wolves cornered her. She could feel their cold breath against her face. Oh, please, no. No, no, no. Ah! 5 asterisks.
I watched as the wolves tore her apart, ripped her limb from limb in a glory orgy of violence and red. It was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Perfect, as she screamed her last symphony.
Spike just stood there, jaw dropped and shocked. You know, for a second, just a second, when you told me what Symphony did to you, I felt sorry for you. It was something I could relate to, something I would never wish on me or anyone else. But any sort of pony that would feed some pony to wolves and watch is beyond redemption, and it's not worth my pity. Conquest just rolled his eyes incaringly at the dragon's comment.
Oh no, Chrysalis, we have a badass over here.
She laughed and snuggled up to Conquest.
Oh dear, we're all doomed.
Yes, Chrysalis, they all are.
Conquest looked at Spike.
The story is almost over, Spike, but we have 1 chapter left, and we'll see if you survive the first night.
That piqued Spike's interest. What do you mean?
Oh, did I forget to tell you? I decided to throw you a little party.
A party?
A party. So you better wake up, and I'd do it soon before they go ahead and start without you.
Conquest and Chrysalis seemed to fade slowly into the shadows, as if they themselves were becoming part of the clouds. Spike noticed that it was getting darker all around him, as he was calmly consumed by the shadows. 5 asterisks. He woke up with his head ringing, something that was not uncommon when waking up from that hell. He slowly opened his eyes. His vision was still blurry, but he looked around and knew something wasn't quite right. This isn't my room. He looked around. All the furniture had been replaced with dark rocks, and the walls of marble were now black stone. He was definitely not in his room anymore. Spike, you're awake! Spike tried to get up, but he realized that his hands and ankles were all chained to the stone table he was laying on. Who are you? He was struggling to break away from his chains. From the shadows and beyond the rocks, a hooded figure emerged. It was in the shape of a pony, probably an earth pony. Soon, more and more hooded ponies came out of hiding, until there were about a dozen revealed. Who are we, dragon? One of the voices asked. We are the ones free from thoughts, free from leaders, free from compassion, love, and toleration. We are the ones blessed with ignorance. We are the conquered! Every pony yelled in unison. Oh, Lord. One of the ponies walked up to his side. Under his hood was a featureless mask with a crudely drawn smiley face on it. Are you scared, dragon? He dragged his hoof across his face. Because the glorious conquest has sentenced you to death. For the glorious conquest! They all shouted. You're telling me that you actually worship that crazy bastard? He was still trying to loosen his bonds. Another one of the hooded ponies walked up to his side. Her mask was the same as Smiley Face, but instead had the phrase, Death to Tyrants, written over and over again.
You fear what you don't understand, you stupid dragon.
She struck the dragon in the face.
Can we kill him now?
Patience. All in good time, but the Glorious One has certain instructions that need to be fulfilled before the sentence is carried out.
Very well.
She looked at the dragon in what Spike could only assume was disgust.
Begin the preparation.
She yelled at the others, who began to form a circle around the dragon. She looked back at the dragon.
Spike the Dragon, our Lord of Insanity and Darkness has tried to help you. He has taken pity on you in a hope that you would see the darkness in every pony's heart.
For he is selfless, and we are selfish, they all chanted.
He had bestowed his sagely advice to you in an attempt to help you see the world for what it truly is, a world full of fakes, of artificial kindness and generosity.
All the ponies are fake, nothing but disgrace.
And he had even given you the greatest honor of all, an audience with his gloriousness.
To look at the face of the Dark One is to look at the face of God.
Despite all these gifts, you have spit in the face of our Lord and forsaken the ignorance.
And now you must pay the price with your life. Smiley Face walked away from the circle to approach Spike. But before you die, Dragon, you will know the feeling of betrayal. He slowly began to loosen his mask. He could see shades of brown in his coat, the glint of autumn in his eyes, his pearly white smile, and his messy pink hair. Duster? Surprise, Dragon! You shouldn't be. After all, the Glorious One did tell you not to be so trusting. But why? He's still trying to loosen the bondage. Oh, it should be obvious. I was betrayed, for a second by the one that I thought I loved. But in my moment of need, the Glorious One took away my pain, and in exchange, all I have to do is give him my undying loyalty. Spike squirmed in his chains. You worship that freak of nature? He wants to kill every pony. What do you think will happen if he takes over? You think that if you serve him, you'll be spared from his wrath? He'll just kill you! We know that, Dragon. When Dark Conquest takes over, we'll be executed. But we will be free from pain, free from misery and heartbreak, and we will be reborn as alicorns, the one great race. Seriously? You actually think you'll be reborn as alicorns? It is pointless to try and enlighten you, Spike. It'll all be over for you in a moment. The circle of hooded ponies slowly closed in on him. One pony, a Pegasus with a mask that had bloodstains for eyes, jumped on him. From beneath his cloak, he pulled out a jagged silver knife. He raised it above his head, readying himself for the killing blow. Does the dragon have anything to say before we slit his throat? Yeah. A smile slowly formed on his face as he looked up at the bloody-eyed pony. You should have chained up my mouth. Green flames exploded from the dragon's mouth. The pony on top of him launched up and off of him in a screaming ball of burnt flesh. Every other pony shielded their eyes from the sudden flash of emerald light. The silver knife that would have been his doom lying right next to his left claw. He quickly snatched up the knife and started to tinker with the lock. The colt ponies were quick to recover from the light.
Kill him! Kill the dragon!
One of them shouted, each one drawing out knives or other sharp objects as they advanced on the dragon. Spike breathed more fire, swinging his neck around and circling himself in a ring of jade fire. The cultists were forced back, except for a few unlucky ones that were caught in the flames. He had bought himself some time. Hopefully they wouldn't have any.
Water!
Screamed a female pony.
Get water on those flames, you idiots!
A few unicorns' horns started to glow, a stream of water gushing out as they slowly doused the flames. Spike was running out of time. He could feel the blade getting deeper in the lock. It was almost picked, and he just needed a few more seconds. Get him! Some pony screamed, jumping through the ashes of the doused flames. She levitated her knife as she lunged onto the dragon. Click. His left claw was free. He swung it around and grabbed the pony by the mask, slamming it against the edge of the stone table. As the pony crumpled to the floor, he grabbed the chain with his free hand and yanked it out of the stone. He sat up. The fire barrier was getting thinner. He slashed at his ankle chains, cutting through them like damp paper. The cultists had put out the fire, and they began their relentless attack on the dragon, leaping at him from all sides. Spike took a deep breath and unleashed more fiery hell. The green flames engulfed a small section of ponies, who were immediately incinerated into dark ash. Two ponies were able to jump and land on his back, stabbing and slashing desperately at him, only to have their blades bounce harmlessly off the dragon's thick hide. A quick ejection of his wings, and the two went flying off into the rocky walls. Spike turned around, smashing a Pegasus that had tried to dive-bomb him. The masked Pegasus went hurtling into the ground, blood dripping out from where the dragon's claws had gouged him. 3 unicorns, one of which was Duster, started to glow their horns. Spike turned to face them and readied his breath, his lips leaking with smoke and hot embers. The unicorns blasted him with a combination of their magic, the arcane missiles easily cutting through the green flame and scalding the dragon's mouth. He fell back, gagging from the magic that had went down his throat. Unicorns on both sides of Duster charged at the downed dragon, their horns glowing with energy as glowing daggers materialized around them, all pointing towards Spike. Spike struggled to get up. His mouth felt wet and his stomach funny. The spell must have gone down his throat and extinguished the flames in his belly, because when he tried to blast the oncoming ponies with flames, nothing but a few black smoke clouds came out. He managed to quickly pull his wings around his body, acting like a shield against the pony's magical daggers, which shattered when it came in contact with the film of his wings. Spike opened up his wings after the attack and grabbed each of the unicorns by the throat and smashed their thick skulls together, rendering them both incapacitated. Duster was the only pony left standing. Everyone else was either dead, unconscious, or a pile of burnt cinders. The pink-haired pony stared at the dragon with a smug look. The dragon, panting heavily, flexed his claws and spread his wings. His white fangs gritted as he took off towards the pony. Just when Spike was about to finish him off, Duster disappeared in a flash, and the dragon collided with the wall behind him. He rubbed his head as he turned around. Duster was sitting on the other side of the room. He kept smiling at the dragon, egging him on for another attack. Spike took off, charging at him with a war cry, both claws at the ready. Duster's horn began to glow again as a dart of energy was unleashed. But he wasn't aiming at the dragon. He was aiming at the ceiling. There was a small explosion as a large boulder was loosened from the ceiling and fell on top of Spike. The dragon instinctively caught it, grunting a little under the weight of it. But this left him vulnerable. With both his hands preoccupied, Spike had no way of defending himself from Duster's knife. The pony's blade dug deep into the dragon's weak underbelly. He dropped to one knee, the new wound crippling him. The weight of the rock seemed to increase every second as blood started to slowly pour out of the stab wound. Duster laughed maniacally like the crazed colt he was and readied his knife again. A white blast of magic hit the cultist on the side of the head. Duster was knocked sideways as Spike looked to see who it was. A large white unicorn, adorned in golden guard armor, stood panting by a newly formed hole in the wall. Curbhoof? Curbhoof didn't respond. Duster had quickly recovered from the blast to his head and was conjuring up one of his own. The two unicorns blasted each other with their own spells, meeting in a stalemate as their spells collided with one another. Spike took this opportunity to muster whatever strength he had left and flung the boulder at Duster with all his might. The brown and pink ponies saw the boulder and quickly blasted it to rubble, but was hit by Curbhoof's spell as well. When the dust had cleared, Duster laid on the ground, barely conscious. Spike was the first to get to him, pulling him up by the neck and pinning him to the wall. You're going to pay for this! Duster just kept smiling as the blood dripped from his bleeding mouth. I think not, dragon. He seemed to be fidgeting with something in his mouth. He snapped off one of his own teeth and quickly swallowed it. You cannot win, dragon. His mouth was starting to foam up with bubbly saliva. He will kill you. He will kill all of you. His eyes started to roll to the back of his head. For the glorious conquest. His body went limp as the last of his life left his body. Spike carefully took a whiff of the dead pony's mouth. Wisp root. Kill you in 10 seconds flat. He brought his attention to Curbhoof. How did you know where I was? Curbhoof walked up next to Spike, looking at the dead body. I've been suspicious of Duster ever since he joined the forces, always sleuthing around at night. Then I saw him leave your room with a bunch of strange hoods. I followed you guys in the old diamond mines under the city, and the rest, well... He looked around the room. You know. Spike examined the room. There were charred and dead bodies everywhere. He hadn't seen a mess like this since the Diamond Dog incident. The dragon and the pony reared their heads toward the noise. One of the cultists moaned and turned as she regained consciousness. Curbhoof ran over to the downed cultist. It was the mare with the Death to Tyrants mask. He ripped it off, revealing a sky-blue Pegasus with a navy-blue mane. What are you doing? I'm removing her wisp tooth. These freaks are trained to commit suicide to avoid interrogation. And we need information on these guys. As much as I'd like to have Duster, she'll have to do. He pulled out a tooth. But we can't have her popping her tooth on the trip back. He hoisted the mare on his back and started to head out of the hole in the wall. He glanced at Spike. You coming, Iguana? Spike smiled. Curbhoof may be an ass, a tight ass, a hard ass, and a jackass, but he was still alright. Yeah, I'm coming. They walked down and up the tunnels that Curbhoof had used to find Spike. It was a long and silent walk until Spike finally took up a deep breath and sighed. Thanks. For what? You know, for saving me. Curbhoof rolled his eyes. Don't flatter yourself. I was just there to take down Duster and nothing else. The fact that I saved you was just good timing. Sure, whatever, jackass. There was something strange about this pony. Some sort of weird hatred towards him. Whatever. He was bleeding and tired and didn't really care if he didn't. Not his problem, he's an ass. They headed to the surface. It was daylight. They entered the castle, and Curbhoof took the cultist for interrogation. Spike was rushed to medical to patch up his wound. It wasn't as bad as he thought, not nearly as bad as the one the dog had given him, but he was still put in the infirmary. He was told by the nurses to get some sleep, but sleep would mean him, and he wasn't in the mood to deal with him, so he just stared up at the white ceiling of his room. White. It was such a beautiful color, pure and majestic. It was the light, the shade of everything good. It reminded him of her, of his rarity. It had been over 2 weeks since he had last seen her, had seen that beautiful, perfect face that he fell in love with. 2 weeks since he had the pleasure to become lost in her pair of enchanting blue eyes. 2 weeks since he felt the taste of those sweet lips against his. Then it hit him. He had almost died. Again. And only this time, he wouldn't have been able to tell her that he loved her. He would have died without ever seeing her again. No. He crawled out of his bed and headed towards the door. When he opened it, Princess Celestia was the last pony he expected to see. Oh, hello, Spike. Feeling better? I'm leaving. Oh? Where do you plan to go? Back to Ponyville. I have to see her again. See who? Rarity. Ah, yes. I heard about you two. To be honest, I can't say I agree with the relationship between pony and dragon, but I learned it's best not to mess with the love of others. Then you'll understand why I'm leaving. He tried to push by the White Princess. You know I can't do that. You're too important to leave. Not now. With all due respect, Your Majesty, I'm going to see Rarity, and there isn't a damn thing you could do about it. The princess frowned at the harsh tone Spike had used, but it was quickly replaced with a smile. Then it's a good thing I caught you before you left. What do you mean? I mean, I think it's time we assembled the elements of harmony. And that was chapter 9 of For the Ones We Love. Good stretch. Okay. All right. Yeah, like I said, that was chapter 9 of For the Ones We Love, written by Flim Flam Brothers on Film Fiction. If you want to check out the story, link will be in description, as always, and Brad's channel in description as well. Check him out. You should. If you haven't, you need to. Wow, a third done with this whole story. Huh. Well, only 2/3 more to go. Again, show your support by liking the video. Leave a comment down in the thing-majigger, letting me know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, what you need me or you want me to improve on, and also seriously, what other stories you'd like to see from me. Either you want me to go back to creepypasta. I mean, obviously I'm going to continue these, but go back to creepypasta. You want me to do like short one-offs of MLP stuff? You know, let me know. Or if you want me to do like, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of games I could play offline, but I could probably do some Minecraft. Yeah, but that'd sure make me original. It's too early. I'm rambling a whole bunch, and I'm just wasting time now. And my voice is really done. In any case, thank you all for listening. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.